Yeah. Yes, sir. It is awesome. Okay.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Gary Farmer. I'm chairman of the Greater Austin Economic Development Corporation and serve at the Chamber as vice chair of economic development. Very glad that you're all here. I'd like to welcome you here on behalf of the Chamber. Today I have a fabulous honor. I get to introduce a man who has devoted his adult life to public service in pursuit of a more prosperous Texas. He's an experienced leader, no doubt. He's led the charge to cut taxes, reform our legal system, establish a predictable regulatory climate, and keep our schools accountable. I will tell you without question, he is the most effective economic development governor I have ever known. Thanks to Governor Perry's leadership and the Texas Enterprise Fund, we enjoy Apple and Visa and HID Global and Samsung and a few others that are in Austin because of the governor's efforts. And we thank you for that, Governor. Thank you very much. So please help me welcome the 47th governor of the state of Texas, Governor Rick Perry.
Thank you very much. And before I get into my prepared remarks, I just want to take a moment and say that I think all of us have maybe friends and or relatives that are up in Boston with the race going on. So just keep them in your prayers as we go through the rest of the day and we get the details of what goes on. So, but anyway, today is amongst other things, it's tax day again. It's a good reminder to everyone that they have to take some time out of their busy schedules and make sure the federal government has gotten its share of your hard-earned money for the year, and you better pay up. Judging by the budget that the president and Herman for your grandchildren too. So and anyway, congratulations to you. And, in Texas we've dedicated ourselves to the idea that money does more good in the hands of taxpayers than it does in the hands of government. That's why we consistently hold the line against those who are calling for more taxes and insist upon balancing the budget the right way, and that is by limiting spending. If you're new in Texas this year, and keep in mind there are about 1,000 people every day that move into this state, so there's a good many of those new people, you can stop trying to figure out how to pay the state income tax, because we don't have one. Our low tax burden is one of the main reasons that Texas has been such an attractive destination for people chasing their ambitions, both employers and employees alike. Our dedication to low taxes and reasonable regulations, fair courts, and cultivating a world-class workforce, Gary, the reasons that those companies that you listed off have moved to this part of the United States. We are the epicenter of job creation in this country. If we're going to keep it that way, we need to continue working hard to make sure that businesses of all sizes, whether it's a garage office startup or whether it's one of the Fortune 500 firms, for them to thrive and excel in the Lone Star State, we need to continue being innovative, to be thoughtful, to send the message that this is the most competitive place in the country to live. So with that in mind, I'm calling for a 5% across-the-board cut to the existing franchise tax rate. This will apply to every business, large and small, currently paying the franchise tax. Secondly, I'm calling for a $1 million business tax deduction for any company with annual total revenues of $20 million or less. This effectively makes permanent the temporary $1 billion franchise tax exemption that we've been passing session to session. It also greatly lessens the burden on companies that barely missed that cut on that particular exemption. In total, the deduction will keep close to $1 billion in the hands of small and medium-sized companies to add more workers and equipment. I also like to see a rate reduction for companies that cut down on their paperwork by utilizing that EZ, Echo Zulu, file system, EZ filing system. I'm also proposing to make Texas even more appealing to outside businesses by allowing firms to deduct the cost of moving to the Lone Star State. These moves will contribute to a climate of job creation and continued prosperity for all Texans. So I want to give another few individuals actually to say a few words. Dr. Duell, Senator Duell, is the chairman of the Senate Economic Development Committee, and I would like for him to just add his remarks as well. Dr. Duell, thank you.
Thank you so much, Governor, and thank you for once again thinking about the businesses of Texas and trying to take less out of their pockets so they can reinvest in their business and make Texas grow even more. And as we continue to work for that and for less regulation, we will continue the legacy of having Texas to be the business-friendly state that it is. I'm very proud to be working on various issues with the governor and the senators and state reps regarding the business climate in Texas, and this is just another step in the right direction, and I'm proud to be a part of it. Thank you.
Senator, thank you. And his counterpart over in the House, the Ways and Means Chairman, Harvey Hilton.
Thank you, Governor. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I want to join my colleagues here today and thank for Brandon, too, as the leader of the Republicans in the House, working closely with my other colleagues. Patricia is here. We're working very hard in the House Ways and Means Committee and have been for the last 18 months. We share concerns of the governor and most Texans that we need to have a fair and simpler small business franchise tax, and we need to give great relief to small business in particular. We've done that largely by extending the small business exemption in the franchise tax that the governor mentioned. But we really have an opportunity to look at ways to give relief to those businesses that gross more than $1 million, that happen to be the most entrepreneurial, the ones that are hiring the people, that are creating the jobs, that are investing in businesses and expanding their own businesses and investing in other businesses. Those are the folks that we're really striving to figure out a way to give them the relief that the smaller businesses have already enjoyed. So making that permanent for the small businesses, $1 million less, but really extending it to those up to $20 million. We have a bill in the legislature to do just that. We heard it a couple of weeks ago. We're continuing to refine that bill and hope to pass that bill along with HB 500, which is the vehicle for margins reform, to reform the tax, make it fair, simpler, and also give meaningful relief to Texas taxpayers. And that's an important thing. I think together with the governor and my colleagues in the House and the Senate, we're working hard to make sure that we add to this very pro-business climate that we enjoy in Texas that makes us the business, the job leader, the business leader in the country, the economic force in the country, that we have an opportunity to add in our tax policy to continue to make us, along with major investments in the major issues like infrastructure and water, that we're able to be the economic leader in this country, not just now as we are and enjoy that now, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. And these are the things we have to do to achieve that goal. Thank you.
Now I'd like to bring up Will Newton. Will is the Executive Director of the National Federation of Independent Businesses. To say this few words as well.
Well, first I'd like to say thank you, Governor Perry, for recognizing these reforms. These needed reforms for small business will help NFIB members. NFIB members are independent businesses. They'll help them to create the jobs and provide the economic stimulus that will keep us, Texas, moving forward in our business and our economy moving forward. So thank you.
And Bill Hammond, the Executive Director of the Texas Association of Business.
Governor, I too appreciate your leadership and all the elected officials who are here today on this issue. It's right and proper to provide tax relief to businesses in Texas. Texas businesses pay roughly 60% of all taxes that are paid in Texas today, so they need some relief. This is a balanced approach. It will not only help every business in Texas, but especially is focused on the smaller businesses that are the engines of job creation today. So we appreciate your efforts, Governor.
And John Calandro, thank you for being here with us as well, and Brandon, we appreciate your coming out and showing your support as well. This is about making Texas be more competitive. I mean, I think that's the real message here. Our states that compete with us, our neighbors, they're not sitting on their laurels. They're looking for ways to make their states be more competitive. Governor Jindal is looking to remove the personal income tax in his state. I know there's other neighboring states that are looking for ways to make their business climate be more like the state of Texas and be more competitive, frankly. So the idea that we can just sit here and think that we can stay at the top of the heap is not correct. Whether it's building transportation infrastructure or whether it is continuing to develop that world-class workforce, the regulatory and tax climate is also still has to be looked at often, and that's what this does. So I want to say to each of you who have participated today, Gary, thank you for hosting us again at the Chamber, and we also would like to open it up to those of you in the media for any questions you may have.
Governor, what's the cost of this? Do you know what the...
$1.8 billion is, I think 1.6 actually, right at 1.6, excuse me. And you know, and there's some other programmatic ideas that we're looking at too. This isn't the totality of the tax cut that we would be looking at, but just a touch under 1.6 billion is what these that we talked about.
So what's your estimate of the return, the 1.6 billion you estimate the state will get what?
Well, I don't think you can put a fine point on that, Rudy. And part of the reason is, for instance, we don't know how many businesses are going to move here as you calculate what the relief on moving costs would be. So what we do know is that every time we have lived within our means, in 2003 and 2011 in particular, we've had extraordinary return back into the state because we put a thoughtful business climate into place. And that, I think, is the real issue here. That's the real story, is that businessmen and women, whether they are in this state or whether they're considering expanding their business in the state or whether they're going to pick up lock, stock, and barrel and relocate to the state of Texas, they know that these members of the legislature are committed to keeping a very competitive environment, both tax, regulatory, and legal-wise, and continuing to have that accountability in our public schools so that there's a skilled workforce available. That's the story, and we have to be thoughtful of that. That there are good competitors out there that are going to try to lure those businesses to their state.
Is that 1.6 billion over the biennium, Governor?
Yes, that's correct.
Is any of that rainy day fund money, or is it all general revenue?
I think it's all money that comes out of the franchise tax, which flows into the, that's property tax. The franchise tax was a property tax, and so this is dollars that are going to flow into it. Mike, we may want to get you to come up here and get real specific with her on. You all know the Deputy Chief of Staff, Mike Morrissey, and he can be very, very specific about the flow of these dollars and where they would go back and forth.
Thank you, sir. As the governor said, the margin tax relief, at least that generated above the old franchise tax, is dedicated to property tax relief. So any hole that is created by this revenue foregone will either need to be filled with general revenue or possibly the rainy day fund.
Does the administration have a preference as to where the money comes from?
You look at the general revenue fund first.
Governor, don't you have an issue with using rainy day fund money for ongoing expenses? This would be an ongoing expense, correct?
Well, that's the reason that we look at the fine Christian man. So, our prayers are with his family. We we put forth a statement earlier in the day about that.
Governor, in light of what's happened in Boston, have you asked Director McCraw to do anything here in the state of Texas, put forces on alert, issue any kind of alerts whatsoever?
We are monitoring what's going on there very closely, and any decisions about heightened alert is in Steve's hands, his capable hands.
Have you got any advisories?
Any idea how many businesses are going to benefit from this, particularly when you expand it to 20 million grocery cities?
Do we have, I don't think we have a number. I don't think we
It's everybody that pays the franchise tax.
everyone who pays the franchise taxes, obviously, I think it's somewhere around 100,000 businesses.
It'd be everybody up to 20 million when we're
No,
talking
no,
about.
no, everybody.
Oh, the rate,
Yeah, it's close to 100,000 businesses that would be impacted by this particular one. Thank you all for coming and being with us today.